Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Yes, again, Emmanuel Gijon, and in today's video we're going to learn some basic Linux commands that you will need to navigate the Linux file system. So I'm going to explain what a Linux command is, and I'm going to show you some basic commands that you can use to navigate the Linux file system, and I'm going to show you guys how these commands work. Before I dive into this video, I want you guys to do a couple of things for me. Please take some time to like this video. I've noticed that a lot of people are watching my videos but they are not liking it. So please, if you enjoy this video or if you feel like you want to support me and encourage me to keep making videos, please hit that like button. So without taking much of your time, let's get started. So right here on the left side of my screen, I have what they call a command line interface. In my previous video, I explained what a command line interface is. As you can see, this is what they call a shell prompt. And I said, whenever you see a shell prompt, know that your Linux operating system is ready to accept commands. Now, on the right side of my screen, I have a graphical user interface, right? And I also explained what a graphical user interface is. If you're logged into your server, you may not see this graphical user interface. You may always see a command line interface. That's fine. Don't panic. The reason why I'm seeing a graphical user interface and a command line interface at the same time is because I'm running Ubuntu desktop. I can show you guys how to install Ubuntu desktop on your servers, but I intentionally did not make that video. Why? Because I want you to be comfortable with the command line first, right? All your life, you've been using a graphical user interface. If you have a MacBook or a Windows computer, you've been using a graphical user interface. So I want you to be comfortable with a command line interface. So the reason I have this too is because I want you to have a visual understanding of what I'm talking about, right? Right here, we have what is known as a graphical user interface. As you can see, we are currently inside of the home directory. I said a directory is simply a folder. So right here, we are inside of the home directory or the home folder. Inside of that home folder, we have some folders. For example, desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, videos, and a file and another folder, right? This is what you will see on a graphical user interface. Now, on a command line interface, you can see the same thing using a command. But before I go in and I start typing commands, let's first of all understand what a command is. A Linux command is a program or a script that you can run in the Linux terminal or shell to perform a specific task. So what we're seeing right here is the Linux terminal. Another way to define a Linux command is you can say a Linux command is simply a set of instructions that's text-based, which you give to your Linux operating system, and your Linux operating system will execute that command. So before we even start, right here on my left, if I click right here where it says home, you're going to see that it's going to give me the path where I'm currently present, right? So it's going to say I'm currently present in /home/gjon. So the folder I'm currently in is a folder known as gjon, right? And inside of gjon, you have all of this right here. You can run a command in Linux that will also give you the path where you're currently present. It's known as the current working directory. And I said in my last video that this right here represents the current working directory. And this sign right here represents the user home directory. I said there is a command that you can run and it's going to tell you exactly which user you're using. And I also said that you don't even need to run a command. If you look at it right here, you'll see that I'm currently logged in as Gijon and I'm a regular user. So when we look at this, it says we are in /home/Gijon, right? Gijon is the user, and these are all the folders that are under Gijon. If you want to see the same thing on a command line interface, we're going to need to run a command, and that command is called pwd. And pwd stands for present working directory. Some people refer to it as print working directory. Some people refer to it as present working directory, but the right answer is present working directory. And if I hit enter, as you can see, it says, hey, you're inside of /home/Gijon. Same thing that is right here. So, but why am I not seeing these folders, right? Why am I not seeing desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, template, videos? Why am I not seeing it here? The reason why I'm not seeing it is because I've not yet instructed my Linux operating system with a command to show me everything that's inside of this directory. So if you want to see everything that's inside of your directory, you would have to use a specific command, right? And that command is ls, and ls stands for list, right? So if I hit enter, it's going to list all the files and directories that are under my current working directory, or that are under my present working directory. So as you can see, the command ls will simply show you everything that's under your current directory. And how do you know your current directory? You type pwd, and if you type present working directory, it would give you your current directory. Now if I go right here on the graphical user interface, I can go inside of this directory called desktop by clicking on it. Right now, as you can see, I'm inside of desktop. How do I know? If I come up here, you'll see it says I'm inside of /home/Gijon/desktop, right? Now in Linux, I can do same. I can go inside of desktop, right? In order for me to go inside of desktop, I will have to use a command, and that command is known as cd. cd means change directory, or change the current directory. So presently I'm in this current directory, and these are all the directories that are listed or that live under this directory. And now I want to change my directory and go inside of this directory called desktop. So I'll have to use the command change directory space. Then I'll have to specify the name of the directory I want to go into. In this case, it's going to be desktop. So if I hit desktop and I hit enter, now I'm inside of desktop. How do I know? You simply type the command pwd and you hit enter. It's going to tell you that, hey, right now you're inside of /home/Gijon/desktop. Same thing that we're seeing here. And if I want to see everything that's inside of desktop, I'll have to use the ls command. ls means list. So I'll have to use the ls command. I'll hit enter and nothing shows up. Why? Because if you look at on the graphical user interface, you see that this folder is empty. So don't expect anything to show because there is nothing in there. Now, what if I want to go back, right? Now, on a graphical user interface, I can simply click right here and it will take me back to my home directory. Now, if I want to do the same thing in Linux, I will have to type a specific command, right? And that command would be cd, which is change the directory. Since I'm moving up one level of the file system, I would have to specify dot dot. Dot dot means parent directory. So I want to change back to the parent directory. Now let me explain this. All of these folders that you're seeing right here, all of these folders are inside of this folder. So this folder is their parent. So in order to see these folders, you will have to go inside of this folder right here. We went inside of this folder, and while we were inside of this folder, we went inside of this specific folder. Now we want to go back to this folder right here. So that's why we use this command called cd dot dot. This dot dot means parent directory, and the parent directory of desktop is what is Gijon. Why? Because desktop lives inside of Gijon. So if I hit enter, you see it's going to take us back, right? And if I do pwd, you see right now I'm inside of /home/Gijon, and if I do ls, right, it's going to show me everything that's inside of Gijon, right? And I can go again to another specific folder. For example, I want to go to documents, right? Simply click, it takes me inside of documents. As you can see, it's empty. If I want to do it on the command line interface, what do? Cd, and I specify the name of the directory, in this case, documents, right? And I hit enter. How do I see everything that's under documents? I simply do what? ls, and I hit enter. There is nothing. Why? Because there is nothing inside of this folder, right? There is nothing inside of that directory. What if I want to go back? I simply do cd dot dot and I hit enter, and it takes me back to that directory. How do I know? If I do pwd and I hit enter, you see I'm in /home/Gijon. Now on a graphical user interface, I simply click here and it takes me back to the home directory. Now the next command I want you to know is the clear command, right? At times you may run out of space on your terminal. As you can see, I'm already running out of space, so I need some space. So I need to clear everything, right? If you want to clear everything, you simply type the clear command. It's like this, clear, and you will hit enter, and basically it will clear everything and it will give you some space to work with. Now let me do ls one more time. As you can see, we do have a couple of directories once again. The next thing we're going to learn, or the next command we're going to learn, will be the command to create directories. On a graphical user interface, if I want to create a directory, I simply right click. It will give me an option to create a new folder. In Linux, there is a command that you can use, and that is the make directory command, right? So make directory, and you will specify the name of the directory you want to create. So let's say I want to create a directory called applications, right? And I'll hit enter. Now on the right side, you will see that a new folder has been created called applications. Now if I want to see it on a command line interface, I'll simply do, and I'll hit enter, and you'll see right here that a new folder was created, or a new directory was created, right? How do we create directories? You do a make directory and you specify the name of the directory, in this case infrastructure, and you hit enter. On the right side, you'll see a new directory was created right here, infrastructure. And if you want to see it right here, you have to use the command ls, right? So if I do ls, I'm going to see that I now have a new directory called infrastructure. I can create another directory. I'll use the command make directory, and I'll call this security, right? And I will hit enter. All right, maybe I want to create another directory for scripts, right? And I will do a make directory, and I will say scripts, right? Or I'll say script, and I'll hit enter. Now if I do ls, you will see that I now have a directory I just created called applications, I have a directory called security. I have one called infrastructure, and I have one called script. So let's say I created these directories and my manager comes to me and says, hey, Emmanuel, we noticed that you created a directory called script. We want it to be scripts with an S, right? So I have to rename it. So if you want to rename a directory in Linux, you would have to use a specific command. And that command is what they call the move command. So I'll have to do move script and I'll specify the new name. I want to move it to script now with an S, then I'll hit enter. So now if I do LX, this one right here without an S was changed to this one with an S. So that's how you rename, directories, right? For example, let's say I want to rename this to software downloads, right? I don't want it to be downloads. I just want it to be software downloads. I would do move download. I'll do move download and I'll specify the new name, and the new name would be software underscore download. Now, don't worry about why I'm putting an underscore here. When we start navigating the file system, there are three important things that I'm going to tell you about the file system. So I'll do a move download, then I'll do soft underscore download, then I'll hit enter. Now, if I do, you will notice that download right here, or download, has changed to soft download. Now, let's say my manager comes and says, hey, Emmanuel, it has to be soft downloads with an S. So what do? We do a move, we specify soft underscore download, and we specify soft underscore, maybe they want it to be capital letter as well, download with an S, then we hit enter. The original file name does not have an S, so I'll take out the X, I'll take out the S and I'll hit enter. Then now if I do LX, you notice that it has changed from a soft download without an S and without a capital letter to a soft download with an S and with a capital letter. Now let's say I want to rename it back, right? I'll simply do move, right? You do move soft underscore download to what? Downloads, right? And I'll hit enter. Now if I do LX, you notice that it's back to its original form. So that is how you can create a directory in Linux using the make directory command, right? So now let me clear my entire screen and now let me do LX. Now let's say we want to go into applications, so I can do a cd into applications, right? And I will hit enter, and inside of application I will do LX. As you can see, there is nothing inside of application, and if I click on application on the graphical user interface, you also notice that the folder is empty, right? We just created it, there's nothing in there. Now another thing you have to know is that you can also create a directory inside of a directory. For example, here I can do a make directory and I can call this directory src, right, source code, and I will hit enter. As you can see, a new folder was created. Now if I do LX, you can see we now have a new folder in here, and still in here I can create another folder called make directory, and I'll name this configuration. So I'll basically name this config, right? So I'll do config, I will hit enter. So if I do LX, I'll notice that now we have two directories. Now let's say all the directories have to be small letters, right? So I have to rename this. I'll simply do a move src with a capital letter, src with a capital letter to src with a small letter. So now if I do LX, you see everything is small letters. So now I have two directories. Now if I want to know where I am, I can do and it says I'm inside of /home/gjon/applications. Now if I want to move one level inside of the file system, I can simply do a cd dot dot. This dot means parent directory. Change to the parent directory, and I hit enter, and I do see it takes me back here. And if I do ls, it's going to list every single directory that's under this specific directory. On the graphical user interface, all I have to do is to hit this backward key, and it's going to take me right here. Now, inside of this directory, I can also go to another directory. For example, I can go to infrastructure. I can cd inside of infrastructure, and I will hit enter. Now, if I do a pwd, you'll see that I'm inside of infrastructure. On the graphical user interface, I can basically just click inside of infrastructure, and it takes me right here. As you can see, for now it's empty. And right here, I can create, different folders, right? I can create a directory for dev, for example. So I can do a make directory, and I can name this directory dev. And I can do another make directory, and I can name this directory des, right? And I can do another make directory, and I can name this directory, prod, and I will hit enter, right? So as you can see, now we have 3 directories under this specific, directory. Remember that you can always clear your screen if you want to. So guys, that was how to, create directories. So the next thing we're going to see is how to create a file. So let's go back, right? Let's go back to our home directory. Right here, we're back in our home directory. So I'm going to do a cd dot dot, hit enter. If I do ls, I'm back in my home directory. So the next thing we're going to do is to see how to create a file in Linux. There are 3 ways you can create a file in Linux, right? So the 3 separate commands you can use to create a file in Linux. So the first one is you can use the tosh command. So if I say tosh, the tosh command is the command that you can use to create a file in Linux. So I can say tosh, and I will say tosh sample underscore file 1.txt. So you will say tosh, and you will specify the name of the file you want to create. So if I hit enter, if I come back here on this graphical user interface, you see that we now have one file here called sample underscore file 1.txt. So if I do ls right here, you see, and I have one file right here. Now there's something very, very important I want you to remember. Linux does not use extension to recognize files. So for example, if I do a tosh, and I simply call this my underscore file, right? And I hit enter, and I do ls, you're going to see that I have a new file right here called my file, right? My underscore, file, right? So the tosh command is a command that you can use to create files in Linux, right? Another way you can create files in Linux is by using a text editor. There are a couple of text editors you can use. You can use VI, you can use Nano, or you can use Vim, right? So you can use VI, you can use Nano, or you can use Vim. In this specific example, I'm going to use Nano, right? So all you have to do is you have to say Nano, and you specify the name of the file you want to create. So I want to create a file called sample underscore file2.txt, and I will hit enter. So with a text editor, it does not just create a file, but it gives you the option to input some text inside of that file. So I'm just going to put some random text inside of this file. This is the random text that I'm going to, put inside of this file. Hi, my name is Emmanuel, and I love Linux. Then I'm going to do a Control O. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to do a Control X. Now, you will notice that a second file has been created called sample underscore file2.txt, right? Now, if I clear my screen and I do LX, you're going to see that now I do have another file called sample_file.txt right here. And I can see what's inside of this sample file tool without going inside of it. And I can use a Linux command known as cat. Basically, what cat does is that it displays the content of a file. So if I do cat and I specify the file I want to see the content, I will do sample_file2.txt and I will hit enter, and it will basically display what's inside of that file. Right, as you can see, hi, my name is Emmanuel and I love Linux. So that's another way you can create a file in Linux by using a text editor like Nano, VIO, Vim. Now, the third way you can create a file in Linux is by using the copy command. In order to use the copy command, you will need a file that already exists, right? And in this case, we're going to use this file right here. I'm going to use this file to create another file. Basically, I'm going to copy this file and use everything inside of this file to create another file. And the way it works is you will use the command copy. So you will say copy, which is CP. You will give space. Then you will give the file you want to use, right? The file you want to copy from, which is sample_file2.txt, and you specify the name of the new file you want to create. In this case, I want to create a file called sample_copy.txt, and I'll hit enter. As you can see, another file was created, right? So if I do ls, you'll notice that we now have another file here called sample_copy.txt. Sample_copy.txt was created from sample_file2.txt. It means whatsoever is inside of this file is the same content that's inside of this file. And how can I see the content of this file? Guess what? I use the cat command. So I can say cat sample_copy, right? That's the new one we created, .txt, and I'll hit enter. As you can see, it says, hi, my name is Emmanuel and I love Linux. And it's the same content that's inside of sample_file2.txt. So if I do cat sample_file2.txt and I hit enter, you say, hi, my name is Emmanuel and I love Linux, right? And you also notice that sample_copy.txt also has, hi, my name is Emmanuel and I love Linux. Why? Because this file is a copy of this file right here. So those are the three ways you can create files in Linux. So let's do something fun, right? Let's do an ls. Let's go inside of this directory called applications. So I'm going to do a cd into applications. I will hit enter. So I will do ls. As you can see in here, we have what? We have two directories. So if I do pwd, I'm right here. If I do ls, is this what is in here? And I can do a cd into rc and I hit enter. If I do pwd, you'll see that I'm inside of /home/gjon/application/src. And in here, I can create a couple of files, tosh, and I can create a file called app.py. I will hit enter. If I do ls, you now see that right here, we have a file, right? And I can also create another file by doing tosh. The name of the file called is utility, utility.py, and I'll hit enter. Now if I do ls, you see now inside of this directory, we have two files, right? And I can clear my entire screen and I can do a cd ... If I do pwd, we're back inside of applications. If I do ls, this everything that's inside of applications, right? And I can also go inside of config and I create some files. So I can do cd inside of config and I do ls, there's nothing. And here I can create a file and I can do, tosh, and I can specify, the file as, config.yaml. Don't worry about what all of these extensions are. And I'll hit enter. Now, if I do ls, you'll notice that there is, a file right here that has been created. Now, let's go back to our, user home directory. For example, if I do pwd and I hit enter, you're going to notice that I'm inside of /home/gjon/application/config, but I want to go back to /home/gjon right here, which is my user home directory. Now, I can do a couple of things. I can do cd ... and it will take me back here. Then I can do another cd ... and it will take me back here. But that's a lot of work, right? Now, if I want to go to my home directory, I can simply specify my home directory and I go, straight to my home directory, right? My home directory is right here. So I can do a cd to my home directory. So I'll specify my, my home directory. Remember I said this right here represents the user home directory, and I'll hit enter. Now, if I do pwd, you see I'm back in my home directory. Right? I didn't have to go through the, cd ... cd ... I'm straight back into my home directory. So let me clear my screen. Let me do an ls. And now let's say we want to delete, these files right here, right? So if you want to delete a file in Linux, there is a command to delete a file, and that's the remove command. But before I talk about the remove command, let's say I want to rename this file right here. I want to rename these two files. I want to rename this my file, this my_file, and I want to rename this sample file. Remember the command we used to rename directories? You can also use that same command to rename files, right? So I will do a move my_file and I will rename it to my_file.txt and I'll hit enter. And if I do ls, see, it was renamed. And I want to rename sample, and I will simply do a move sample to sample.txt and I'll hit enter. Now if I do ls, you'll notice that it has been renamed, right? So that is the use of the move command. Now let's say I want to delete these files, right? So there is a command to delete files in Linux and it's called the remove command. So remove like this. So I'll do rm space and I'll specify the name of the file I want to delete, right? So I'm going to start with this file right here. So that is my _file.txt and I'll hit enter. Now if I do ls, you notice that that file is gone. That file has been deleted. Now let's delete these other files right here. So I'm going to do remove and I'm going to do sample.txt. I'm going to hit enter. If I clear my screen and if I do ls, you notice that that file is gone, right? So I can do remove and I can specify multiple files, right? For example, I want to remove sample _file1, or let's say file2, and I also want to remove sample _file1, and I want to remove this one as well, the copy one, and I want to remove sample _copy.txt, right? If I hit enter, then if I do ls, notice that all those files are gone, right? All those files are gone. So that's kind of how you remove files. Remember that we've created some directories, right? Let's see how to delete directories. For example, let's say we want to delete this directory called security. We want to delete this directory called script. And we want to delete this directory called infrastructure. And we also want to delete this directory called applications. Now, in order to delete directories, you have to also use the remove command. So I'm going to say remove. And I'm going to specify the name of the directory I want to delete. In this case, I want to delete this directory called security, right? And I'm going to hit enter. See, it says cannot remove security. And it says it's a directory. So basically it's telling me that this command cannot remove this because this is a directory. So what's happening? When we try to use this command to delete files, it worked. So why are we trying to use it to delete directories? It's not working. So what's happening, right? What's wrong? What's happening with this, command? Now, if you find yourself in this situation, this is where a command known as the man command comes in. The man command is a very important command. So basically what the man command does is that it gives you an explanation of different commands and what these different commands can do, right? So if you find yourself in this situation where you cannot delete, where a command is not working when you know it's supposed to work, the first thing you have to know is that it means you have to pass an option. So you have to say, hey, I want to delete a directory, right? Because remember, when we used rm, it deleted a file. Now we're trying to use it to delete a directory. It's not going. It says cannot remove securities because security is a directory. So it means we have to pass an option in order for Linux to know that we are not trying to delete a file. Instead, we are trying to delete a directory. Now, we don't know the option to use. So if you don't know the option to use, this is where, as I said earlier, the man command comes in. So basically, the man command gives you details about a command. For example, I can say man, and I'll specify the command I want to know more about. In this case, I want to know about the man command, right? So I'll do man, and I will hit enter. So it takes me to what is known as a manual page. So it's going to give me the name of the command. The name is man, and it says the man command is an interface to the system's reference manual. So basically, it's a command that would give you information about other commands. So let's go back to our command prompt. So we are back in our command prompt, and we've noticed that the remove command is not working. So let's see if the man command can give us more information about that command and can even go as far as giving us the exact option we can use to delete these, directories. So I'll do man, and I'll specify the command I want to know more about, which is rm, and I will hit enter. So it says here that the name of the command is rm, and this command is used to remove files or directories. So we just try to use it to remove a directory, but it's not working. But when we look at the manual, it says that it's used to remove files and directories. Now we can read more about the man command, or we can go right here where it says options. Basically, you can specify an option, right? And in our case, we will have to specify the option that we want to delete a directory and not a file. So let's find that option. So right here, you can see some options. You can see, for example, false. You can see -i. Then we're just going to go right here to where it says -d or -dir. It says remove empty directories. So this is the command, or this is the option we are looking for. So let's try that option. So I'll take back my command prompt, and I'll say I want to remove. Then I'll pass that option -d. Then I'll specify the name of the directory I want to remove. In this case is security, and I will hit enter. Boom, that directory is gone. If I do, the security directory is gone. Now let's say we want to remove infrastructure. Now if I do ls, I will see infrastructure right here. So I can do remove -d infrastructure, then I'll hit enter. It says here that infrastructure cannot be removed. Why? Because the directory is not empty. We're going to come back to this. Let's remove another empty directory that we created. Let's remove this script directory. So I'm going to do remove -d, and I'm going to do script. Then I'm going to hit enter. If I do ls, you see that script directory is gone. Now let me clear my screen and let me do an ls. Now let's try to remove infrastructure one more time. So if I do remove -d infrastructure and I hit enter, you see it cannot remove infrastructure. It says the directory not empty. It means there is something inside of this directory. Now remember that when we used the man command and we did a man rm, we went into the man command. When we were looking around, we noticed that this option we use says it removes empty directories, meaning that if a directory contains anything, it will not remove that directory because that directory has something in it. Now there is a command we can use to see exactly what's inside of that directory. Now we can cd inside of that directory and do an ls to see what's inside of the directory, or we can just stay right here and run a command to see what's inside of this directory. So this command is list. We already know the list command. So for example, so if I do list, it's going to list everything that's in this directory, but I don't want it to list things that are inside of this directory right here. I don't want it to list everything, right? So let me clear my screen. Let me do an ls. We want to see all of what's inside of this directory. So you will do ls, you will do a space, then you will specify the path of that directory. Now, if you don't know what a path is, this is what I'll advise you to do. Just do ls dash specify the path of the directory. So you copy this. So the path would be /home/gjon, right? Then you specify the directory that you want to see the content that's in it, which is this directory right here. Then you would hit enter. So basically, it's going to show us what's inside of that directory, right? So it's going to say, hey, inside of this directory, you have the dev folder, you have prod, and you have, test, right? So this is what is inside of this directory. Now that you know what's inside of this directory, you can choose to delete this directory or not. In our specific scenario, we choose to delete this directory. We're trying to delete this directory using the remove command -d is not working because the -d option only removes an empty directory, and this directory right here is not empty. And we don't have time to go inside of this directory and start deleting these folders. It's going to take us a lot of time. So what we want to do is we want to look for an option that will allow us to delete directories that are not empty, meaning that even if they have content in it, we still want to delete it. In this scenario, we don't know what the option is. Guess what? We can use the man command. So I'm going to do a man rm and I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to take me right here. Now let's look at the options, right? Let's quickly look at the options to see. I see an option here and is the recursive. It says remove directories and their content recursively, right? That is the option that we want. So I'm going to gain back my terminal and I'm going to say remove -r recursive delete, and I'm going to specify the directory and I'm going to hit enter. If I do ls, boom, that directory is gone. Let's remove this other directory that we created called application. So if I do an rm, I do a -t and I do application and I hit enter, it's not going to work. It's going to say, hey, listen, this directory is not empty, and because this directory is not empty, we cannot delete it. Now, if you want to see everything that's inside of this directory, you can basically just use this command ls, you specify the path, and you will simply do, applications, and you hit enter, and it's going to tell you that inside here we have, config src. So if you want to delete it, we simply do a remove -r recursive delete, and we specify the name of the directory and we hit enter. If we do ls, you see, now that directory is gone. So that's how important, you see, the man command is. The man command can help you in Linux do a lot of things. For example, let's say I want to know different options I can use with ls. I will do man ls and I will hit enter. And you see right here, the first option I see is the -a. It says do not ignore entries starting with dot. When you see a file that starts with dot, it means that's a hidden file. So if you want to see hidden files in Linux, you will do an ls-a and you will hit enter. Now you see there are more files, right? When I do a simple ls, these are all the files that I see. But when I do an ls-a, a stands for all. Now you can start seeing some hidden files like this one right here. These are hidden files, and you can see some hidden directories right here, and you can see more hidden files right here. So this is an option, that you can use, the -a. And another thing also is that you can also create a hidden file, right? For example, I can do a dash and I can do dot. All hidden files starts with the dot, and I will simply say my underscore hidden underscore file, and I'll hit enter. Now if I do ls, you will not see that file. It's not there. So where is that file? It's a hidden file. So how do you see hidden files? You have to list everything. So you have to do a -a and you have to hit enter. Now if you look carefully, you're going to see that file right here, and you can remove it, right? So I can do an rm, then I can do a dot, and I can specify the name of the file, my hidden file, then I can hit enter. Now if I do an ls, I won't see the hidden files, but if I do an ls-a, boom, you see that hidden file is gone. I've deleted, that my underscore hidden file, and I can even delete this other hidden file right here. So I can do a remove, dash, hidden file, and I'll hit enter right here. Then I'll clear my screen and I'll do ls, and I can do ls-a. Now I can also do man ls, then I can see more options that that I can use, right? For example, it says -f, list all entries in directory orders, right? Let's just keep going. As you can see, there are a lot of options that you can pass, right? It says -l, use a long listing format. So let me get back my terminal. So let me clear my screen. When you do ls, this is how it's going to list everything that's inside of that directory. But if you do an ls-l, it's going to use a long listing format like this, right? Yeah, that's what it means. And it's also going to give you more information about, the file permissions or the directory permissions. Don't worry about what permissions are. We're going to talk about it. Another important command you can use, or another important command you're going to use when we're navigating the file system, is a command called history. And basically what the history command is going to do is that it's going to display all the previous commands that you have executed on your terminal. So if I do history and I hit enter, you see it will show me all the commands that I've executed on my terminal, right? So I've used ls, I've used cd to desktop, I've used touch, I've used man, I've used clear, I've used man ls. So it will basically just show you all the commands that you've used on your terminal. If you're looking for a specific command that you just used, you can use the up arrow key on your keyboard. So basically you just do up arrow key, and it's going to show you all the commands that you've used on your machine. As you can see, is showing me cd desktop, ls, clear, find, clear, man, ls. It's going to show you all the commands that that you've used on your machine. That's a very useful trick that you can use when you're navigating the Linux file system. So guys, those were the commands that you will need in order to navigate the Linux file system. So in our next video, we're going to